Welcome back to another video on the Agent Ashenbrenner YouTube channel. I got another movie review for you today. Today we're talking about Captain America, the Winter Soldier. In that Jason Bourne video I made a little bit ago, I talked about how this was my favorite espionage movie. I rewatched it recently with my dad, and I must say, it lives up. It is fantastic. This movie is great. I got my copy of it right here. Got this guy on DVD. Excellent cover art, by the way. Just looks cool with our heroes standing in the line, looking all cool. But yeah, let's talk about this film, all right? So, this movie is a few years old, so you've probably seen it, but if you haven't, beware. I'm going to be talking some spoilers on this movie, because there actually is a lot to talk about. In fact, I'm probably also going to be throwing in some spoilers for... Okay, let's just get it out of the way. We're going to be talking spoilers for a little bit of Avengers 2. We're going to be talking about some spoilers from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. We're going to be talking about spoilers from Avengers Endgame. And we're probably also going to have some Captain America Civil War in there as well. This is a big spoiler talk review, so let's go ahead and dive into it. So, Captain America the Winter Soldier is the sequel to Captain America the First Avenger. You've got Chris Evans coming back as Steve Rogers. Now, this movie is set after the events of Marvel's Avengers, and we see Steve kind of trying to get back into the groove, you know, adapt to the modern world. It's a pretty cool little plot they got there. But then it's also showing him getting back in action. So, following the events that he's gone through, he's just doing his thing. He's joined up with S.H.I.E.L.D., the government agency that is meant to protect people, to stop criminals and the like. And he's doing cool missions. He's the leader of a team, and he goes in and, you know, just fights the bad guys and does what he does best. Now, this team is also comprised of Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. Yep, she came back for this movie. It was really cool to see her in this role. Scarlett Johansson did a fantastic job as the character in this one. I really enjoyed her character throughout the whole film. And also, front and center is S.H.I.E.L.D. itself. So, up until this point, S.H.I.E.L.D. had been a huge presence in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, we've seen them in a bunch of the other movies. I mean, the first Iron Man movie had S.H.I.E.L.D. in it as well. I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s been a big deal. And now they're front and center. We get to see a live-action version of the Triskelion, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s headquarters, and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s building 3 new helicarriers. Nick Fury is also front and center in this movie. We get some excellent Nick Fury moments in this. The car chase where the bad guys dressed like police officers attack him, fantastic. We've been introduced to Brock Rumlow, who we would see return in the sequel, Captain America Civil War. We get characters like Sharon Carter. We also have Robert Redford in this movie playing Alexander Pierce, a member of the World Security Council. And it's a really good movie in the fact that it's an action movie, it's a superhero movie, but it is a spy movie. It has those spy shenanigans. It's got cool gadgets. Black Widow's using those little like taser disc things she used. It's got the sneaking around, going in disguise, going on the run, you know, kind of doing all the sneaky stuff, like going in public places, trying to blend in and all that cool stuff. So yeah, I love the espionage elements that they did with this. I really, really dug that. We also get a follow-up to what happened to some of Captain America's friends. We know that Peggy Carter is still alive. She's very old, and you know, Steve actually gets to visit her and talk to her, and that is very interesting to see that scene unfold. They also reveal that Peggy Carter got married, which, by the way, we might as well jump to it. This is why I said we're spoiling Avengers Endgame. At the end of Avengers Endgame, Captain America travels back in time, and he actually goes to see Peggy Carter. It's presumed that Captain America and her actually ended up spending their lives together, and he just lived a peaceful rest of his life, you know, and then, you know, just spend it with her. And that's at least what I believe happened from what they were implying at the end of that film. But that leads me to a thing. Peggy Carter was married. She said in this movie that one of the people Captain America rescued was the man that became her husband later on. That means that Captain America erased an entire marriage, and they never said whether or not Peggy Carter had any children. If she did, those would have been erased as well. I assume they didn't have any kids. There's no way Captain America would erase some people from the universe. But the fact that he altered the timeline that way kind of gets into that morally gray territory because of that. But, you know, that's one of the things you can only think about looking back at it, having seen how the MCU has unfolded. But anyway, so brushing off that, the plot of the movie itself is pretty dang interesting. It's all about how S.H.I.E.L.D. has been infiltrated by Hydra and how they have been using S.H.I.E.L.D. to basically trick the world into letting them build these WMDs in these helicarriers, which they're then going to use to wipe out anybody who could pose a threat to them. And that's up to Captain America and his crew to stop it. Like I said, we got Black Widow, and we got introduced to an excellent character in the form of Falcon. All right, Anthony Mackie kills it with this performance. I love Falcon. This first iteration of his suit, which was the military version, and, you know, he's got this just the suit, he's got the submachine guns, and Falcon is awesome in this movie. I love the iconic part where Captain America's running past him, you know, the on the left thing, which they would have been, again, referenced in Avengers Endgame. But yeah, so I enjoyed that. The action scenes are off the charts here. They show Captain America doing cool fighting moves. They're showing him demonstrating his strength. The shield tossing is just spot on. The sound effect design is amazing. One of the best elevator fights we have is in this film, and I had a ton of fun with it. Nick Fury gets some cool scenes as well. Like I said, the car chase. It's actually Nick Fury that ends up killing the main villain at the end, Alexander Pierce. Black Widow just does her cool thing, taking out dudes, and the action is phenomenal. And then, of course, we have the character that the movie is named after, the Winter Soldier. This adaptation, this is the first time I ever saw the Winter Soldier arc. You know, I went on, I saw it in, like, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes later on. But this character is so cool. Sebastian Stan is an incredible actor. I love seeing him. I mean, this movie is amazing. And I love seeing Captain America showdown with the Winter Soldier. I love seeing the Winter Soldier use his metal armor. I like seeing how intimidating he was. He's just a presence on screen. So, man, oh man, there's so many good scenes in this movie. It's hard to even, I can't even talk about all of them. So I won't waste your time with that. But I think that the directing was incredible. I thought that the way that they handled the story and how it had lasting implications in the MCU was really cool. And overall, it was just a really, really, really good movie. You know, this is a sequel the way I love to see him. You know, there's an Arnold Schwarzenegger quote that I saw in a video where he says, "I've made a career out of doing sequels," which is the same thing as the original, just more awesome. And in some ways, this is kind of that. This movie is better than the original Captain America, in my personal opinion. I love this film. So now let's talk about how it kind of sets up some things for the MCU. I'm a big fan of the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually had to basically adapt to what was going on in this movie. So S.H.I.E.L.D. gets taken down throughout the plot of this movie, basically. And then Nick Fury says he's going to go on a quest to defeat Hydra, and then Captain America said he's going to track down the Winter Soldier and all that. And then in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you actually see, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. collapsing. You see Coulson's team reacting to that. You see them, like, Coulson and his team take back one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. bases called the Hub. And then what they do is, like, they try to, like, oh, how many bases do we have? Oh, we have 5 that haven't fallen to Hydra. And then you have Coulson and his squad fighting different Hydra, like, factions and all of that. And then Nick Fury shows up in the same outfit he ends this movie in, and he gives Coulson the toolbox he needs to rebuild S.H.I.E.L.D. I thought that the way Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. handled that was really cool. And of course, like, I'm watching this with my dad, I'm telling him, like, oh, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., eventually S.H.I.E.L.D. becomes a public agency again. Like, they actually, like, fully reintegrate, they rebuild, and they are, like, a public thing again, which is quite interesting considering they brought it back with how bad their reputation must have been stained. Then some other implications for this, the files that were released onto the internet. Fury disables the big encryption, like the primary one. Based on what Baron Zemo says in Captain America Civil War, it seems that there was some kind of secondary encryption that he had to break through in order to find more information about the Winter Soldier himself and all of that. So that had another implication there. And then, of course, you have what would later happen with Bucky with Captain America in the sequel as well. But then the coolest thing is, this was the starting point of the new threat. At the end of the first Avengers movie, they said the Avengers would reassemble if there was a threat that needed them. Like, there was a big enough threat that required them to do that. And that's what we have in this movie. Hydra was that threat. So the second Avengers movie is about Ultron. But at the beginning of that movie, that's what they're doing. They are fighting Hydra. There's dialogue in Avengers Age of Ultron suggesting that the Avengers had been taking down Hydra base after Hydra base before the start of the movie, like off screen. And in the post-credit scene of this movie, Strucker even says that I think he said something like, we're going to feed the other outposts to the Avengers. So, like, it's implied that Baron Wolfgang von Strucker, what he did is he would like leak info about this base, the Avengers would take it down, he'd leak info about this base, the Avengers would take it down, and so on and so on. Meanwhile, in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. characters, they took out a bunch of Hydra leadership as well. So like, if you watch like the TV shows and the movies together, you know, you kind of get more of the full picture of what's going on. Yeah, and that's why the Avengers reassembled. After this, I'm guessing it was Captain America. He probably called them all back together, said, "Oh guys, Hydra is here. We're gonna have to do something about this." So really liked that. So yeah, what it set up for the future was really cool, but just the movie itself, so good. Great beginning, middle, end. The costume design is fantastic. Captain America's suit in this movie, like the first one, the kind of like stealthy suit, the dark blue with the silver, that suit is really cool. And then of course they bring back the suit for the first movie, for the finale, and that was great as well. Winter Soldier looks awesome. I mean, Nick Fury's rocking the trench coat for most of the movie. Fantastic, fantastic. Can you tell? I really do enjoy this movie. This is one of the top tier MCU movies in my opinion. And here's the thing I was actually thinking about during this. I was like thinking as I was watching this movie, I was thinking like, oh, say, this is the same Captain America that would eventually fight Thanos, who would eventually fight Ultron and all that, you know, and those big sci-fi plots. And then I saw Falcon. Falcon's just this guy, did a couple of tours overseas, pararescue. Then he gets back in the game to help Captain America, and you know, they fight Hydra and all this. And I'm like, this character, Falcon, he's just this grounded dude who happened to be part of like a military branch that used jetpacks. And he gets brought into this. Who would have thought that eventually Falcon himself, he would be part of the final showdown against Thanos? Who would have thought that he would participate in the superhero civil war? And it's just cool to see like those humble beginnings go into these big bombastic, over-the-top sci-fi plots. And that actually led me to thinking about another thing, about me personally as a viewer. I love the difference of the stories. I love the different way I've seen these characters. What do I mean by this? I'm talking about how I love seeing Captain America in this grounded story. Okay, grounded used loosely, there are flying airships with guns that can read DNA. So there is some crazy stuff going on, super soldiers, you know, all of that. But this is one of the more grounded MCU movies. And this is a story, you know, just about spies. It's about, you know, combatants. It's about agencies. It's about villains and infiltrations and who do you trust, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of more, you know, down to earth, I guess you could say, is a way I describe it. But then you also have these same characters going up against robots. You have these same characters later on fighting aliens, and I love seeing that scope of it. And it's just the thing where, like, when it comes to these superhero stories and my enjoyment of them, all the stories are valid. It doesn't matter if it's Captain America fighting Hydra or if it's Captain America fighting Galactus. It doesn't matter if it's Batman fighting one bank robber or if it's Batman fighting Darkseid. Like, I'm just using other superheroes as an example. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's Superman fighting a meteor freak from one of the season 1 episodes of Smallville, or if it's him fighting Mongol on Warworld. Like, all of the superhero stories are equally valid. It's seeing the difference. I love that kind of stuff. And this movie just made me think of it. Like, within the scope of this universe, we've seen Captain America in all these different situations, and it's awesome. Captain America is so cool. They did him in the movies so well, and this is what I'm tripping over my words. This is one of the best MCU movies we've had to date, and it is my favorite spy movie. So sorry, Jason Bourne. Sorry, Mission Impossible. Sorry, you know, all those other spy franchises. This is the one that sticks. This is my favorite one. So yes, I am a huge fan of Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So let me know down in the comments, have you seen Captain America, the Winter Soldier? Is this one of your top Marvel movies? Is this one you didn't like as much? I know this movie got a really good reception from the fan base, and when I saw this movie, like, this movie is fantastic. I'm so glad I rewatched it recently. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Feel free to hit the like button if you would like to. If you're not subscribed, go ahead if you'd like to. I put videos up every so often just talking about stuff like this. You know, I got movies, gaming reviews, stuff like that. So, with that being said, thank you so much for watching and have a fantastic day.